I don't exactly remember how old I was when my mom brought me into her bedroom to let me know that my friend that I had made when I was 2 years old, because we were in the same waiting room with the same diagnosis, going to see the same doctor, was on her deathbed, potentially, if this next surgery didn't go right. And I grew up going to Muscular Dystrophy Association camp with a whole bunch of kids with disabilities like mine, and disabilities that were far worse than mine. And I'm not going to touch on the far worse part because I have thoughts on the whole comparison, but the point is that every year we would celebrate the seniors. We'd celebrate the kids that weren't going to be coming back next year because they had made it. And I didn't understand what it meant to have made it until I came back every year, until I was in my early teens. And every year, the people who came back were fewer. And of course, there were some of us who just couldn't make it. We were in the hospital, we were sick, we were busy living our lives as teenagers and doing other things. And there were some of us who didn't make it that whole next year. And I have been in part of the same Facebook group, support group for young people with mitochondrial disease since I was 13 years old. And there's this running post each year that one of the leaders does with a picture of a green flame. And every few months, sometimes every month, she adds names to that list. People that when I first joined the group I didn't really know, and then it was people that I looked up to, and then there were people that I talked to, that I had gone to camp with. They were my friends, people I'd asked advice from, people that I saw grow and learn about disability identity and who I'd have discussions with on Facebook. And now they're beginning to just be strangers again. Young kids that feel like kids to me at almost 25. When I was 19, I read an article that said the life expectancy for people with mitochondrial disease who were diagnosed with the same symptomatic elements that I had were expected to live until 22. That was the updated age. And if they lived to 22, there is a good chance that they would make it to 50. And the fall of 2020, I turned 22, and I looked forward so much to that birthday and just what it meant to have made it that far. And I guess it was summer of 22 is when my birthday was, but that summer and fall, I was the most depressed I have ever been in my entire life. The same week of my birthday, I contemplated and I talked about establishing a will and writing letters to doctors so that if I couldn't advocate for myself anymore, that I could at least have some letters that said, I have a life worth living. Please make sure that you fight for me. And I felt so betrayed because I had made it to 22 and a whole bunch of my friends had made it to 22 and we were supposed to have survived. And this last week, one of my early childhood friends' little sisters, who has had the same diagnosis that I have, plus some other conditions, passed away. And she was 22. And it's just, I thought I could handle it. I don't really know that family very well anymore. I thought I could just move on, but I can't, because every time there is a name added to the list, every time there is someone else from my community who dies, I mourn them, and it reminds me of the life that I am living. In my early 20s, I really struggled with this idea of already being almost halfway through my life. Now, according to that study, literally about halfway through my life, if that's how that works, who knows? No one knows. But I talked with some people about it, and they would say things like, oh, well, you know, anyone could die tomorrow. And that was their comfort. Anyone could die in a car crash tomorrow. And yeah, that's true. However, it also feels like a complete betrayal sometimes, living with my specific diagnosis. And I want to be clear, I am a proud disabled person. I am proud of my community and my identity. And this is something very specific, because there is a sense and a level of betrayal when you exist in a body that struggles so much to live. And there is a betrayal that happens when you live in a society that says, because you live in a body that struggles so much to live, that it is not worth living. That all of your commitments and all of your time and all of your energy and everything that you have ever sacrificed is not worth it. So I've always struggled with this idea of, live like you're dying. I've walked with death my entire life. Yet, if I lived like I was dying, I would stop going to doctors, and I wouldn't go to work, and I would do all these things because in theory, it means to embrace life and take things and do things that you don't want to get to the end of your life that you'd regret. But if I truly lived like I was dying, what I could end up doing is moving things towards death a little bit earlier than I want it to be, because I have to exist in a realm of space that believes that I will have a future. And here's the thing, that if you were the 18-year-old, 17-year-old, 16-year-old me that I want to tell you, your life has value at every stage. Your life has value even if you never get to bring anything into this world. You don't have to be inspirational. You don't have to be motivational. You don't have to be successful. You don't have to be anything but just exist and just hope and be and believe in things that are beyond you. And your life has value if you start school and never finish. Your life has value if you try new things that may potentially come to nothing, because even though you have a limited amount of time, the way that you use that time in every form has value because you exist in that time. Also, I want you to acknowledge that the world is not made to help you or support you, but that does not mean that it shouldn't. That does not mean that there aren't people in the world who believe that it should help and support the most vulnerable. And it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to need help, and it is okay to need support, because we all need that. If you are friends or love someone who's experiencing something like this, I try to think about advice, things that people in my life, there really isn't much that you can do besides love and support them and try to be there and listen. I don't know how to end this video. And I know it's a little bit weird and it feels a little bit out of nowhere, but it's been on my mind a lot because I feel like there's this expectation to live like you're dying and to take risks and to do all these things, and risks are important. Risks are a very good part of life, but there's some of us who just can't take risks, and that is okay. And I don't think there's enough people out there that says that's okay, and that for some people, existing in certain spaces is risk enough, and it's valid to say that that is enough risk. I think there's just so much that people can bring into this world, and they're never given an opportunity to do it, and they're told that their existence is a burden. And we are cutting ourselves short. We are hurting ourselves by not supporting kids with disabilities. We're hurting ourselves by not investing in kids who are supposed to not have a future, because you will be surprised. You will be surprised. There's nothing else that you have learned from these last few years. You will be surprised. And even if we invest in kids that are going to die anyway, even if we invest in people who are going to die, what is the matter with that? Like, there's so much with COVID, and I am made of grief. I don't think I'll ever be able to not be grieving. And I was there before COVID, but especially after. Like, what is the harm? What is the harm in protecting people and caring about people who are going to die anyway? What is genuinely, how does that hurt you? That's inconvenience is not pain. Watching your friends, that's pain. Watching parts of yourself being chipped away because people tell you that your experience, that you cannot share the wholeness of who you are, that is pain. And so what I choose to do with my life, what I choose to believe in, is investing in becoming the most credible person I can, investing time in my YouTube channel because it's my nonsense. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's going on, but I have tried to learn some things that other people may not know and share those things here and talk about my experience because that's all I have. That's all I have to offer. But it makes me feel like I'm believing in the future because it's not just my future I believe in yours. I believe in yours.